IBM research has helped catalyze some of the biggest accomplishments in computing and artificial intelligence history. So Deep Blue, IBM Deep Blue versus Kasparov chess match in '96 and '97. Just to ask, kind of like what your perception is, what your memory is of it. What is that moment? Like this seminal moment. I believe probably one of the greatest moments in AI history, when the machine first beat a human at a thing that humans thought.
You make a very interesting point, because it is like one of the first demonstrations of using a game to like bring something to people's consciousness, right? And to this date, people use games, right, to demonstrate different things. But at the time, it's funny. I didn't necessarily think of it so much as AI, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not a chess player. You might be a chess player, so I'm not expert at it. But I think I understand properly of chess, that chess has got a finite number of moves that can be made. Therefore, if it's finite, really what's a demonstration of is supercomputing, right? It's about the amount of time and how fast it can crunch through to find the right move. So in some ways, I thought of it as almost a bigger demonstration of that. But it is absolutely, as you said, it was a motivator, one of the big milestones of AI, because it put in your consciousness that it's man in this other machine, right?
Yeah,
doing something.
So you saw it as just a challenging computation problem, and this is a way to demonstrate hardware and software computation at its best.
Yes, I did.
But the thing is, there is a romantic notion that chess is the embodiment of human intellect. I mean, intelligence. That you can't build a machine that can beat a chess champion in chess, and the fact that
I was blessed by not being a chess expert, so it wasn't like
it's just a computation problem.
It was a computation problem to me.
Well, that's probably required to not be paralyzed by the immensity of the task.
Yeah. So
that this is just solvable. But it was a very, very. I think that was a powerful moment. So speaking just as an AI person, that was that. Reinvigorated the dream.
You were a little kid back then, though, right? At 95, you had to be like. Were you? You remember it actually at the moment?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
What did you think at the moment about it?
It was awe-inspiring because, especially sort of growing up in the Soviet Union, you think, especially of Garry Kasparov and chess. Like your intuition is weak about those things. I didn't see it as computation. I thought of it as intelligence, because chess for a human being doesn't feel like computation.
Yeah,
it feels like some complicated relationship between memory and patterns and intuition and guts and instinct and all of those. Like
if you watch someone play, that's what you would conclude, right?
And so to see a machine be able to beat a human. I mean, you get a little bit of that with ChatGPT now. It's like language was to us humans the thing that we kind of surely the poetry of language is something only humans can really have. It's going to be very difficult to replicate the magic of a natural language without deeply understanding language. But it seems like ChatGPT can do some incredible things with language and in natural language dialogue. So, but that was the first moment in AI. Through all the AI winters from the 60s, of the promise of it was just, wow, this is possible for a simple set of algorithms to accomplish something that we think of as intelligence. So that was truly inspiring, that maybe intelligence, maybe the human mind is just algorithms. That was the thought at the time. And of course now what the funny thing, what happens is the moment you accomplish it, everyone says, oh, it's just brute force algorithms. It's silly. And this continues every single time you pass a benchmark, a threshold to win a game. People say, oh, well,
it's just this.
It's just this. It's just this. And that I think that's funny. And there's going to be a moment when we're going to have to contend with AI systems that exhibit human-like emotions and feelings, and you have to start to have some difficult discussions about, well, how do we treat those beings, and what role do they have in society? What are the rules around that? You know, and this is really exciting, because that also puts a mirror to ourselves to see, okay, what's the right way to treat each other as human beings, because it's a good test for that.
It is, because I always say it's a reflection of humanity. What I mean, it's taught by what man, bad stuff in the past, you'll teach it bad stuff for the future. And which is why I think, like efforts to regulate it are a fool's errand. You need to regulate uses, not, because it's not the technology itself is not inherently good or bad, but how it's used or taught can be good or bad for sure, right? And so that's, to me, will unveil now a whole different way of having to look at technology.
What about another magical leap with the early days of Watson with beating the Jeopardy challenge? What was your experience like with Watson? What's your vision for Watson in general?
Yeah.
What was it?
And it was really inspired by first chess, right? And Kasparov, and then you come forward in time. And, I think what Watson did, because you used a really important word, AI had kind of waxed and waned in these winners, right? In and out, in and out. Popular, not. More money, less money, in and out. Confidence, no confidence. And so I think that was one of the first times it brought to the forefront of people like, whoa, like it humanized it. Because here it is playing against these two gentlemen. And as it did lose at first, and then finally won at the end of the day. But what it was doing is making you say, hey, natural language, it's actually understanding natural language. It's one of the first demonstrations of natural language support and a bit of reasoning over lots of data, right? And so that it could have access to a lot of things, come up with a conclusion on it. And to me, that was a really big moment. And I do think it brought to the conscious of the public, and in good ways and bad, because it probably set expectations very high of like, whoa, what this could be. And I still do believe that it has got the ability to change and help us, man, make better decisions. That so many decisions are not optimal in this world, even medical decisions. And it's right or wrong what took us down a path of healthcare first with our AI. And we took many pivots. And I think there's a really valuable lesson in what we learned. One is that I actually don't think the challenges are the technology. Yes, those are challenges, but the challenges are the people challenges around this, right? So do people trust it? How will they use it? I mean, I saw that straight up with doctors and meaning they're so busy in the way they've been taught to do something. Do they really have time to learn another way? I saw it was a mistake when you put it on top of processes that didn't change, kind of like paving a cow path. Didn't work. I mean, it was all human change management around it that were really its biggest challenges. And another valuable lesson, we picked, back to you said you think of IBM as moonshots, we picked really hard problems to start with. I think you see a lot of technology now starts with really simple problems. And by that, it probably starts to build trust because I start little. It's like, oh, I'm not ready to, outsource my diagnosis to you, but I'll get some information here about a test question. So very different thinking. So a lot of things to learn. We were making a market at the time. And when you make a market, choice of problem you work on gets to be very important. When you're catching up, well, then it's a scale game. So very different thing. And so, but Watson proved, I think, I hope I'm not being too, I think Watson brought AI back out a winner for the world. And that since then, there's just been, one company after another and innovations and people working on it. And I have no regrets of anything that we did. We learned so much. I mean, we probably rebuilt it many times over. It made it more modular. And today, to IBM, a Watson is more about AI inside of a lot of things, if you think of it that way, which is more like an ingredient versus it's a thing in and of itself. And I think that's how it'll bring its real value, more as an ingredient. And it's so badly needed. And even back then, the issue was so much data. Like, what do you ever do with it? You can't get through it. You can't use it for anything. You know this well. It's your profession. So we have to have it. So that's going to propel it forward.
So it's part of the suite of tools that you use when you go to enterprise and you try to solve different problems.
AI for security, AI in automated operations, AI in your robotics, AI on your factory floor. You know what I mean? It's all part of. And I think, and that's why even to this day, thousands and thousands of clients of IBM still have the Watson components, that it's the AI being used. So it became a platform is how I would say it, right? And an ingredient that went inside, and consultants, like you said, had to learn. They had to learn. Don't just put it on something. You got to rethink how that thing should work, because with the AI, it could work entirely differently. And so I also felt it could open up, and still will open up, jobs to a lot of people, because more like an assistant, and it could help me be qualified to do something. And we even years ago saw this with the French banks, very unionized, but that idea that you could, in this case, the unions voted for it because it felt people did a better job. And so, and that's this part about being really dedicated to help humanity, not destroy it.